Good morning, 1010. How are you this morning? Good. I see the heat has drained some of y'all, but it's cool in here, so there's no excuse. How are you? Good. It's okay if some of y'all are like, you know what I mean? It's okay. As I always say, it takes a village to make a church, So we are going to be singing a lot of great music today. I think we're ending our series on David today, so it's the last time we get to sing Carrie, which you guys sing so well. But we're going to start out with one that you guys know pretty well. We sing it a lot here at 1010. It's Come As You Are by David Crowder. So if you'll stand as you're willing and able, let's sing together this morning and lift our voices. Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken-hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, oh sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who've strayed. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. For the morning, oh sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Sing this chorus with me, y'all. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurts, lay down your hearts. Come as you are. Y'all, pass the peace with one another this morning. Extend to someone the grace that they are here as they are and they are loved.
Amen. Amen. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Jessica Vaquetta, the Minister of Outreach, and it's good to see you all here today. See so many friendly faces and some new faces and people home for the summer, and aren't we grateful for a cool place where we can gather and pause and open ourselves up to the way God is living and moving among us and to be in community with one another. Amen? Oh, there we go. We're kind of awake there. A couple reminders as we get started today. Yesterday, we hosted World Refugee Day here at the church. Several of you volunteered your time. Thank you. And we had folks from around the world just celebrating refugees and their journey and where they are. And over on our coffee table over there are some specialty teas from around the world that they left. So on your way out, or even during the service, if you want to grab one to take home with you and enjoy later, or grab one during the service, I encourage you to take those with you. Justin McDonald, I think, is really excited about the tea. I don't know. He's excited over there. When you walked in, you might have received a Connect card, and this is just has a lot of important information, ways for you to, like it says, get connected at the church. There are a couple of QR codes you can scan on there. One is enables you to sign up to help serve with the leadership here at 1010. We also have a sign-up sheet on our back information table. And another QR code allows you to make a financial gift to God's church, to the work that we are trying to do here. And you can make a gift online, or you can place your gift in our offering plates. And looks like someone's already started us off, so thank you for doing that this morning. But most importantly, on those Connect cards, there is at the bottom a place where you can write down any joys or concerns that you would like to share with the ministry staff. We lift those up every Tuesday, and it is a gift to be able to pray with you and for you throughout the week. So you can place those prayer concerns in the offering plates as well. There's some additional prayer cards at our back information table that you can fill out and place in the prayer concerns container. And then, of course, you can always go to our website and email us or fill out a prayer request online. A couple of things happening today and this week. This morning, this afternoon, technically, we have our UCC and U seminar for visitors and new members. Maybe you've been around for a while and you just want to get to know more about who we are as University Christian Church and Disciples of Christ, and some of the things that are happening in our community and the people we are trying to be, and our core values and mission and vision and all that stuff. Russ will be leading that, correct? Yep, 12:15 in room 150. So if you are interested, you can, I believe, go ahead and show up. That's right, Stacy? Yeah, if people are interested in going to UCC and U, they can just show up today, right? They don't have to register in advance. All right. If you have any questions, see Stacy in the back after worship. And then this week, we have a special performance that is happening Wednesday evening in our sanctuary, and this is our high school handbell choir. Every 4 years, they take a trip to England where they perform in many churches and cathedrals, and they're leaving this Friday for that trip. And so they are having a sneak preview concert, practice concert, all of that's happening Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So I encourage you to come out and support them, and also keep them in your prayers this week and over the next couple of weeks as they embark on that journey. Russ will also be leading a companion trip of adults who will be supporting them, but also doing their own exploration around England as well. Let's just take a moment now and take a breath together. Go ahead and breathe in and breathe out, and let everything, all the week's stresses and worries, just exhale with your breath, and let us turn to God in prayer. Holy One, we are grateful. We are grateful that you have called us together in this community of love. We are grateful for the ways that you journey with us through all of the seasons of life, and journey with us wherever we go. We ask that you watch over our bell choirs and the family members and friends that are going to support them. Keep them safe and healthy in their journey. We lift up those who are journeying around the world, for refugees and their families that are trying to make it to safety. Lord, may they make it to a place where they find safety and security, a place that will welcome them in and care for them and help them make it to the next place. We pray for all who are journeying through the waves of grief, through illness, through loss. Lord, may your presence be known in the moments that they need it most. May your peace comfort them and carry them through this difficult season. And God, we give you thanks for those that are embarking on new adventures, those that are preparing to go to college in the fall, starting new jobs, starting new relationships. We give you thanks for the ways your love is at work and the ways that you journey beside us in the good times. God, we know that you are only where we are in prayer, and so we lift up those who need your presence most as we join together in saying the prayer Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Good morning. So we're wrapping up our sermon series that we've been dealing with for the last few weeks that we're calling Life Comes at You Fast. We have been looking at the character of David, King David in the Old Testament, who is one of the few characters that we see throughout the entire lifespan of his life. We knew him from the womb to the tomb, from the cradle to the grave. We see him throughout his entire lifespan. And so we're looking at some of the different stages of his life to see what we might learn. Oftentimes in other people's stories, we recognize our own. And we have been looking at some of the challenges, but also the opportunities that exist in each of those four stages. We've looked at childhood, we've looked at adolescence, we looked at midlife or adulthood last week, and today we're going to talk about older adulthood. Now, what's interesting, you may find this interesting, is that in the scriptures, we have essentially two accounts of the ending of the last stage of David's life. There is the one in 1 Chronicles that we're going to hear from in just a few moments, but there's another side of the story, as there often is, that we see in some of the other books like 1 Kings and 2 Samuel that tell a little bit different side of the story, a fuller story. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in the sermon. But for now, I invite Jay to come up, and he's going to share with us this text from 1 Chronicles, which is the more idealized and glowing version of David's life.
Today's text comes from 1 Chronicles chapter 29, beginning at the 26th verse. Thus David, son of Jesse, reigned over all Israel. The period that he reigned over Israel was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. He died in a good old age, full of days, riches, and honor, and his son Solomon succeeded him. Here ends the reading, the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
So we're talking today about older adulthood, and I know almost immediately there's a sense of kind of little defensiveness. I can feel it, that people are wondering exactly when does that start? I want to know. I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid. I'm going to let you define that and decide what that is for you. But I can tell you this. Bernard Baruch, who lived to be 95 years old, said essentially, older adulthood is 15 years old older than what I am right now. And maybe that's sort of the ideal, the standard that you're looking at. Part of the reason that it's hard to identify when that phase starts is that the lifespan is the typical lifespan, life expectancy, has expanded significantly in the last 150 years. In fact, if you were born in the year 1900, your life expectancy was only about 40 years old at that time. And now, if you were born in the year 2000, that is closer now to 80 years old, which means in the last 100 years that it has doubled. The life expectancy has doubled. So it makes it difficult to understand when older adulthood starts. There was a guy, a more mature gentleman in our congregation last week who emailed me this last week. And said how much he appreciated my sermon last week on midlife. And he says, though I started thinking about it, that I'm not sure that necessarily is that I fall into that category, he said. He said, because I did the math, and if this is my midlife, I will live to be 176. I told him, I said, Eldon, the good news is the rates are climbing. So who knows? You may be able to do that. Not only is it hard to define, but it's also hard to know what to call this age, this stage in our life. We don't want to say things like old. We don't want to say even things like older. And so someone suggested, I like this, chronologically enhanced population. Doesn't that sound a little bit nicer than saying old people? I think that's a better way to say that. So the church that I was serving a number of years ago in Atlanta, Georgia, had a great ministry for older adults, and they referred to that group as the third agers, which is a phase that sometimes people use to define a period of time that's after midlife, but still while people are active. I kind of like that idea of being third agers. Now, let me pause here for just a minute and to say that I struggled a little bit writing this sermon much more so than the previous three. In fact, I spent more time writing this sermon than I did the other three combined. In fact, there were lots of different revisions and that sort of thing. Our AV team was very patient with me, and I kept saying, no, really, this is the final version. No, this is the final. And we're probably going to make some changes tomorrow, even on this sermon for today. And part of the reason that I struggled, that it was difficult for me, is that despite what my children will tell you, I'm not quite at that stage. I've not lived through this stage. I've been a child. I've been an adolescence. I've been through midlife. I've had the crisis and the whole bit. But I've not quite gotten to the stage in my life where a lot of my physical powers diminish, though I admit, and as I said, my children like to laugh at me when I pull out my phone to use the light when I'm reading a menu in a restaurant. How many people know exactly what I'm talking about? I've not yet retired from work. I've not seen a lot of my peers pass away. And so a lot of what I speak on today, I do as an observer, right? Of people of 30 years of ministry that I've worked with folks at this stage in their life, but also some research and some things that I've read and I've studied along the way. What I've come to discover, what I've come to see, is that when you reach older adulthood, and again, wherever that starts for you, however you want to define that, the focus of this period is on being more so than doing. The focus is more on being rather than doing, and that's hard for a lot of folks, in part because we are children of the Protestant work ethic, what's known as the Protestant work ethic. Back about 500 years ago, there was the Protestant Reformation. And part of what came out of that, the theology and the understanding of life that came out of that Protestant Reformation was what is now referred to as the Protestant work ethic, that said essentially in a number of different ways that you don't really have value unless you're doing something. Right? That you have to be creating, you have to be producing, you have to be working. But yet, the truth is that God cares a whole lot more who we are than what we do. right? I think that God appreciates and loves and values just our being. And there comes a time in our life when we recognize that. And I would argue that oftentimes it is in that third age of life. You know, it's interesting that that as you get older, your eyesight tends to get a little weaker, but yet your ability to see more clearly what truly matters becomes even more clear, right? That it is in that stage in your life when you realize some things that are true, that have been true all along, that you may not have been able to see, that things like family really does matter the most. Things like learning is a lifelong adventure, that curiosity is an important part of what we bring to life. It's later in life that we oftentimes come to the realization that it's those simple things that matter the most. As somebody once said, the older I get, the more I realize that I just need the simple things in life: a comfortable home, good food on the table, and to be surrounded by the people I love. That if that's all that I have, my life is an embarrassment of riches. It's in the long run that we came to do that. So my main point this morning is that whether or not old age, however you want to define that, whatever you want to call it, it is essentially whether or not that is good news or bad news, is directly dependent upon the choices and the habits that we've developed all along the way in our life. Right? We see that in David's life. That the end of his life is the culmination of what he had been doing throughout his entire life. And I think the same is true for all of us. Richard Rohr, who's a Catholic priest, he died not too long ago, but he wrote a great book about the spirituality, about the two halves of life that he called Falling Upward. And in it, he said this. He said, watch your thoughts because they become words. Watch your words because they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, he says, because it becomes your destiny. All of our lives are a culmination of what we have been up to that point in our life. Now, I mentioned earlier that the Bible tells us that there are basically two sides. There's two different versions of the story of the last stage of David's life. There's the story that we just read, right? That David died at an old age. He was full of glory, and his son Solomon ruled after him. Sort of the happily ever after version of the story, right? But as we said last week, happily ever after doesn't really exist. That life for David was not always happy. He made some really poor choices along the way. He struggled at times in our life. And life for David was a mess in some ways. So we've got what we read, but also there's the fuller story that we see in those other two books of the Bible I mentioned a moment ago, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, that talks more deeply and it parses out some of the struggles that he had. Absalom, who was his oldest son, the apple of his eye, the one that he adored more than anything else, that was the logical heir to follow him to the throne. But yet Absalom really struggled with patience and wanted, and so he devised a plan to have his father killed. His son devised a plan to have David killed. But yet in that conflict, Absalom himself is killed. And so what we see there is David cry of rage and anger and pain. Absalom, Absalom, what have you done? And then the prophet Nathan steps in, which is, interestingly enough, the same one that held up a mirror to him with the whole Bathsheba thing that we talked about last week. It says, you're doing some things that are not. The prophet Nathan steps in at this point in the story and says, no, it's not going to be Absalom. It's going to be Solomon. It's going to be Solomon. But David protests and says, wait a minute. Solomon's never even been to war, right? He's never even been in battle. And Nathan says, yes, but he is filled with incredible wisdom. Now, let me side note for just a minute. What do you think is needed most in the world today? More armament or more wisdom? Maybe that's a sermon for another time. The point is that David is the accumulation of what he has been becoming at every stage in his life, and all of the stages in his life are in preparation for this moment in his life. My grandfather on my father's side, my paternal grandfather, is VM Pete Peterman. I called him Grandpa Pete, and he was a hero to me, and he spent his entire life on a ranch in Texas. That's him there on the left. The guy on the right, that's me. And I was cute back then, wasn't I? Can you guys see that? It's a little blurry, but you can see. Yeah, I don't know what happened. He was a hero to me. He grew up in a ranch in Texas. He lived his entire life, and as we know, in Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. And so Grandpa Pete was larger than life to me. In fact, I named my son after him. He could do no wrong in my eyes. But then a few years ago, in a conversation with my dad reluctantly told me some of the other stuff that had happened in Grandpa Pete's life, right? Some of the things that were not always, some of the chapters in his life that weren't perfect, right? And here's the thing, after hearing that, knowing the fuller story, I loved him even more, right? I loved him anymore because now he was not a hero, now he was real. He was genuine. He wasn't to be placed upon a pedestal, but to recognize that he was flawed just like the rest of us. I knew all of those gifts. I knew about his personality, but when I learned about some of the flaws that mark us all, I loved him even more. Do you remember the story of the Velveteen Rabbit? One of my favorite stories. It's a children's story, but really it's for all of us. It's the story of this stuffed animal, a rabbit, that would come to life. All of the toys in this little boy's playroom would come to life after he went to bed. And there was this conversation that took place between the skin horse and the Velveteen Rabbit one night, and he was talking about what it means to be real. And he was saying, that those new toys, those fresh toys, those are not real. That it takes a while. And he says, essentially, he says, real isn't how you were made, it's the thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. And the Velveteen Rabbit says, whoa, wait a minute. Does it happen all at once, or is it bit by bit? And he says, it takes a long time. The child really loves you, then you become real. And then this is my favorite part of the entire story. He says this, he says, generally, by the time you are real, are you ready for this? By the time you're real, most of your hair has been loved off. Oh, come on, I love that part. By the time you're real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all because once you are real, you can't be ugly except to those people who don't understand. It was when I knew the full story of Grandpa Pete that he became real to me in a way that he hadn't been before. By the time you're real, all of your hair has been loved off. Come on. David in his older years is an accumulation of what he was becoming at every stage prior to that. And the truth is that that's true for all of us. That doesn't mean that we can't change later in life. That doesn't mean that transformation is not possible. That's not what I'm saying. I believe in the power of transformation. But what I'm saying is that we are ultimately an accumulation of everything that we've done and everything that we've been, who we are, who we've loved along the way. This whole topic of aging is a pretty big conversation that's been going on right now. There are tons of books, there's tons of research that's going on. And just this week, Sanjay Gupta of CNN fame came out with a new season of his podcast that he calls Chasing Life. In this whole season that just launched this last week is on this whole idea of aging. Now, I'm not going to say that he was inspired by this sermon series, and that's the reason he's doing that. I'm not going to say that, but I'm not going to say that it's not, all right? I'm just saying that maybe it's just a coincidence. But one of the things that he addresses is that there is this fascination, but also this obsession with getting older. Have you noticed that there is this fear of aging in our culture, that in many ways aging is sort of a dirty word? Think about all of the products that are out there, right? All of the things that we do in order to stay young, looking for that fountain of youth. We spend billions of dollars every year on things like plastic surgery and hair color, anti-aging cream. We spend billions of dollars on Botox, you name it. Anti-aging is big business. And it has impacted our preconceived notions of how we understand what it means to get older, right? That there is this fear, it becomes a dirty word, but a lot of those beliefs and a lot of those fears are sort of thrust upon us by this quest to stay young, even though I would argue that a lot of people say that this age, whatever it is, that this golden age is the best time of their life. Right? Because, and they will tell you, I've got a lot more wisdom. I understand what matters and what doesn't. I've got a lot more time in my hands. I can do what I want. I get to be a grandparent, which is so much better than being a parent. Right? My dad tells me all the time that grandchildren are so much more fun than kids. If he would have known just how much, he would have had the grandchildren first. I don't know how that would have happened, but that's what he says to me all the time. There's this golden age. One of the people that Gupta interviews in this podcast is a Yale professor by the name of Becca Levy. And she explains that how we feel about aging greatly impacts not just our quality, but also the longevity of our life. This was fascinating to me. She said that if we have a negative belief or negative attitude towards getting old, that greatly impacts not just our physical health, but also our emotional and also our spiritual health. But those that have a more positive view of aging, that understand that it's not so bad after all, that those people are not necessarily just happier, but also they say that those people that have a positive view on aging live 7.5 years longer than those that take on a more negative view of aging. If we have a positive understanding about getting older, that we actually live longer, 7.5 years. And there's research and studies to back that up. But yet, in most of our culture, there's this fear, there's this sense that you aren't really young anymore. And if you're not really young anymore, then you are somehow irrelevant and boring, and you don't have anything left to give us. Now, let me just pause for just a moment and say, that's not just the younger generations that have that mentality. Let me tell you what I've experienced in 30 years of ministry working in the church, is that oftentimes it is the older generations that come to me and say, I got nothing left to give. I don't have anything left to give. Or the other thing that they say sometimes is, you know what? I've done my time. It's somebody else's job now. And that the only way that they participate in the life of the church is to be critical of the ways that the younger generations do things. Or they sit back and say, things were so much better when we were doing it differently. Things are not like they used to be. Thank God that doesn't happen in this church, but in other churches, that sort of thing happens. In many cultures, though, for thousands of years, cultures all around the world, there has been this idea of what's known as the village elder. And that is the one who has seen it all. And that when you are a young person and you're trying to figure things out, when you're trying to sort out what matters and what doesn't, trying to make it all work out, you would go to the village elder, who was this fount of wisdom, right? This non-judgmental, non-anxious presence who had seen it all and would be helpful in helping you sort out your life, this village elder. But here's the thing, to all of our chronologically enhanced population, I would argue that we need you now more than ever. We need you now more than ever. You have the most wisdom. You have the most time. You have the most resources. You have all of the things that we so desperately need, right? You've been married how long? You've been able to stay together for how long? Good, because we need that. Because we have young families that are trying to figure out how to juggle family and faith and children and work and all that sort of thing. We need your insights. You know how to read? You don't have anything going on in the afternoons? Great. Because there's a school down the street that would love to have you as a mentor. You could just go there from time to time and read to them and teach them and to share with them and just simply love them. I could go on and on and on, but here's the thing. We need the village elder now more than ever. But what's happened in our culture instead, though, is that the generations have split, right? The younger generations have this sense that, we've got it all figured out, and the older folks, they feel left out and they feel irrelevant. But in many cultures, like I said, from around the world, they're all integrated because they came to the realization that says, we recognize and we know that we need each other. We need each other. The older generations need the passion and the idealism and the energy of the younger folks. And the younger folks need to know and understand that there are people out there who can help guide me. I would argue that we need the village elder now more than ever. Like I said, the Bible wrote two endings to the life of David. The hard one with his son trying to kill him in order to get the crown, and the nice story of him living the long life full of glory. But the truth is, both sides are needed for the full story of David's life. And the truth is, it's the same with your life and my life as well. We need the full picture. Dag Hammarskjöld, who was the secretary of the UN, who died a number of years ago in a plane crash, once said, "For all that has been, thanks. And for all that will be, yes." Both sides of the story, the fuller story that marks all of our lives, those moments of saintliness, but also the sad choices. We need all of it. Because life can only be lived looking forward, but it can only be understood in looking backwards. And the truth is, life does come at you fast. And as we look back upon our lives, a mixture of saintliness and sad choices, may we be able to say, with hearts filled with gratitude, but also with joy, for everything that has been, God, thanks. For everything that will be, yes. Will you pray with me, please? Eternal loving God, we are so grateful for the way that you move in us and through us, for the way that you help us not just to do things, but to be who you created us to be. Give us that sense of wisdom, that sense of grace, to recognize that the fullness of our lives, both our saintliness but also our sad choices, make us who we are. And above all else, may you remind us that who we are is exactly the person that you love. Amen.
So to kind of close out our series on the life of David, I thought we could sing a song that kind of encompasses the lifespan. Yeah, I love the idea in this song, especially given Russ's sermon just now. Take a chance and make a change is in the chorus of this song. And I think that is the life worth living, right? Is the one where we take a chance and try to make meaningful change in the world. So y'all sing this with me. And I know you know it. I think it was a series song a little while ago too. So a little while ago, I think like a year ago. So let's do it. Grew up in a small town, and when the rain would fall down, I'd just stare out my window, dreaming of what could be, and if I'd end up happy, I would pray. Trying hard to reach out, but when I tried to speak out, felt like no one could hear me. Wanted to belong here, but something felt so wrong here, so I prayed I could break away. I'll spread my wings and I'll learn how to fly. I'll do what it takes till I touch the sky, and I'll make a wish, take a chance, make a change, and break away. Out of the darkness and into the sun, but I won't forget all the ones that I loved. I'll take a risk, take a chance, make a change, and break away. Wanna feel the warm breeze, sleep under a palm tree, feel the rush of the ocean. Get on board a fast train, travel on a jet plane far away, and break away. I'll spread my wings and I'll learn how to fly. I'll do what it takes till I touch the sky, and I'll make a wish, take a chance, make a change, and break away. Out of the darkness and into the sun, but I won't forget all the ones that I loved. I'll take a risk, take a chance, make a change, and break away. I'll spread my wings and I'll learn how to fly. Though it's not easy to tell you goodbye, I gotta make a wish, take a chance, make a change, and break away. Out of the darkness and into the sun, but I won't forget the place I come from. I gotta take a risk, take a chance, make a change, and break away. Break away. Break away.
Well, there it is, the life of David, from childhood to king to good old age. We've seen the whole spectrum. There was some highs in there was some lows in there, some things that David was proud of, probably a few he wasn't proud of. He lived a life, and there's those two different versions that Russ was talking about. That both are true. We hold all of those within ourselves. In the highs and lows, there's also some things that stay the same. And God's table, the Eucharist, is one thing that will stay the same. It can be a constant for us in our life, a place where we're always welcomed to have a seat at the table, a place where we will find love and encouragement, nourishment, sustenance for the journey of life. And so as you come forward today, wherever you're at in that spectrum of life, know that this is a place for you, and that we'll be here week in and week out. If you're serving communion today, please come up here and join me, and in a minute I'll invite everyone else to come up. As we remember that one night Jesus was with his friends, he gave thanks to God for it, broke it open, and said, "This body is my body, which is broken for you. Whenever you eat it, remember me." In the same way, he took a cup and poured out into, he poured the wine in the cup. He said, "This cup is my body, my blood, which is poured out for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Remember that my love has been poured out for you." And so each week as we gather around the table, we take bread, we take cup, and remember Jesus' presence in our lives. As you come forward today, know that everyone is welcome to this table. Feel free to leave any prayer concerns or gifts up front, and then you can also grab our bread, which is gluten-free, and our juice, which is alcohol-free. We also have these all-in-ones, if that's something you prefer, and then we'll continue in our worship service. So please come forward and join us in this meal. You're okay. Bread of life. Bread of life. Bread of life. Bread of life. The bread of life. The bread of life. Bread of life.
All right, friends, it's the last time we get to sing our series song for this series together. And last week, y'all did a little clapping for me. I'm kind of hoping we can maybe continue that trend and it wasn't just a one-off, but if it's not, it's still beautiful and lovely to me. So, whatever. But stand as you're willing and able, and we're going to sing Carrie together this morning to close out our worship. As we awake to face the day, just thought I'd take the time to say, I'm glad to be alive, breathing right in time with you. You and I are nothing new, just two old souls that will fade into the everlasting grace. But before we fade, we've got a lot to do. 'Cause can't you see this world is chaos in color? It's wild and strange, but it's wonderful too. If the weight of it ever tries to pull you under, know this much is true. We were made to carry each other, and I'm here to carry you. You and I have storms we'll face, but every cloud is lined with grace. The morning comes to break the hard and heavy chains of the night that tried to hold you. You and I have dreams to chase. We've got lives to lead, no time to waste, and there's no need to wait. Yeah, we know that love's where we were made to be. 'Cause can't you see this world is chaos in color? It's wild and strange, but it's wonderful too. If the weight of it ever tries to pull you under, know this much is true. We were made to carry each other, and I'm here to carry you. Come on, y'all. Yeah, let's do this just last time. Come on. Oh, I was made to carry you. One day you're gonna carry me too. Oh, I was made to carry you. One day you're gonna carry me too. Come on, like you mean it. Oh, I was made to carry you. One day you're gonna carry me too. Oh, I was made to carry you. Sing it out, y'all. One day you're gonna carry me too. Oh, this world is chaos in color. It's wild and strange, but it's wonderful too. If the weight of it ever tries to pull you under, know this much is true. We were made to carry each other, and I'm here to carry you.
Amen. Good job, everybody. Yeah. What a good series this has been. Thank you for joining us. I can't talk. Thank you for joining us for this series. There we go. Words are hard sometimes. Next week, we will kick off our July worship series, which is called Blessed, Sabbath Keeping, and the Good Life. So Reverend Renee Hoke will be preaching that series as Russ will be out of town for a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to Renee's message and all that she has to say. July is a good time to focus on Sabbath keeping for sure. A couple of things happening after worship today. We have our post-worship opportunities bridge up on the 3rd floor, 4th through 6th grade. Allison is going to be leading that today. Our youth hang time will take place in the 3rd floor game room. Young adult Sunday school will be in room 150, and this is their last Sunday school class. They're going to take a Sabbath in July. So they'll start back up in August. And then we will have our post-worship conversation right down in front here. We'll start in 5 or 10 minutes. And Skylar Plunkett, our adult ministries chair, will be back over by the coffee stations. If you have not had a chance to talk to her yet, she has been meeting with people after worship to talk about Sunday school classes, small groups, things that would be adjacent to the 10:10 worship time, either before 10:10 or after, or some community groups, small groups throughout the week. So I encourage you to stop by and share your ideas with Skylar, or just say, hey, let me know when this gets off the ground. I'd love to participate. I hope as you leave this place that you have experienced God's love, and that the Spirit carries you out into the week ahead so that you may share love with everyone you meet. Stephanie, would you lead us in our benediction?
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause God's face to shine upon you. See God smile at just the thought of you. May God rule in every part of you, and peace be with you. Go in peace, y'all.